Hello, punters. Welcome to the Next Gen Friday Form preview. It's been a few weeks, and obviously we've had a little bit of interest. I think it was Daniel Norris jumped on Facebook and said, boys, when are you back? So last Group 1 of the season, we can take a deep dive into the Tatt Tiara. It's a cracking field. But we might as well talk about a few things that have happened over the last month. How are you, Hayden?
Very well, mate. Yourself?
Good, thanks, mate. And probably the biggest news is the sacking of Bucks. How'd you feel as a Pies man?
Yeah, it was a bit of a changing of the guard. I thought there was the way Bucks presented in the media over the past sort of month to 6 weeks. I think he already knew what the timeline was. It looked like a done deal, and he was pretty comfortable with it. So, everyone has their time. 10 years. He's been fantastic. He holds a winning strike rate above 55%, which puts him in the high quality coaches bracket. My gut feelings one day we might see him again, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's at a Gold Coast or a GWS.
All right, that's probably enough footy. We've probably got people in Sydney that don't give a stuff. But anyway, racing-wise, Stradbroke a few weeks ago, Tafane got the job done. Vega 1 ran second, and there were a couple of nice runs there as well. Subpoened's ones that has sort of caught the eye going forward. What did you make of Tafane's Stradbroke win?
Well, what a sensational story for a mare who was listed to be sold in the big sale in Sydney for the ownership group and the trainer to pull up and say, no, we've probably got one left in the tank here, and we'll withdraw her from the sale and let's go again. And to pull off the big Group 1 up in Queensland was an excellent effort. Outstanding ride. And she gets an opportunity to possibly go 2 in a row.
Yeah, we'll take a deep dive into the Tatt Tiara form a little bit later. One horse that was a pre-post Stradbroke favourite was Ayrton. Went up to Queensland, got beaten at his first Queensland run by Apache Chase. But the figures that Daily Sectionals pulled up, both horses ran really well.
Went outstanding. He's a special little horse, Ayrton. When you hit the racing scene and you win with such brilliance is one thing, but when you've got times and analytics to sit there and back it up and to have, 2 to 3 career starts to date in the +3 range from, he's a very, very lightly raced runner, and I don't think he's put it all together yet. So, he's only got to find that 1 to 2 lengths of improvement to turn himself into a pretty dangerous runner in that 14 to 1600 metre range. So, the world's his oyster at the moment, and I'm assuming that there might be a big race towards the end of the spring that he might target. Yeah,
and did you think Apache Chase maybe was a little bit flat in the Stradbroke, or ran to his level?
Oh, he was exposed to highest pressure he's been exposed to in his short campaign, and when you're traveling at that sort of speeds in front and you have a big slowdown through the mid-race and you're on a racetrack which is quite unkind to front runners when that rail's in that true position, he's just a complete forgive and forget job. He's an exciting horse going forward. He will rebound.
All right. And I wouldn't mind, obviously, the next month after Saturday, got some quiet racing to finish the season, and we'll have to come up with a couple of podcast ideas, but I wouldn't mind doing a show with you about, or we might take a deep dive, one episode into the best 3-year-olds of this season, and be interesting to see where Ayrton lines up, having not competed in a Group 1, but certainly a horse on the rise. But that might be a discussion for a later date. One more topic I want to chat to you about, Incentivise. We're going to take a deep dive into the Tats Cup as well. And Incentivise, well, Melbourne Cup horse potentially Brace Sokolsky and Aussie Kier have bought in. Steve Tregear has kept 50%. Have you been taken by the son of Shamus Award? 5 wins in a row, and he'll probably be a hot favourite this weekend.
It's hard not to be taken by horses who tear away and win by big margins. Sometimes they can be dangerous. You can assemble fields and they run slow speeds, and you get horses with a superior sprint late. It can turn, what normally is smaller margins into bigger margins, but he's got a nice little IVR number to his name. Puts him in the range to be competitive in the better races in the spring, but he's probably going to have to find a little bit, and that exposure to more pressure will allow him to find out whether he's capable of that or not. It's hard not to be taken by him. Big risk for the boys, to put them in and a half or whatever it was up for a horse like him. But when you got it, you may as well spend it. Nice little end of financial year. Say goodbye to 1.2.
Yeah, well, they purchased Sir Dragonet last year and won a Cox Plate, so I don't think they're struggling for cash. Bray and Aussie. Did you watch Royal Ascot at all? Does it catch your interest?
Not a minute of it.
All right, we'll skip over that. What about this weekend's Takarazuka Kinnan? Chrono Genesis will go around, won the race last year. 2 years ago, Liz Grasher won the race, came out and flogged them in a Cox Plate. Unfortunately, the Japanese, they want grooms travelling on aeroplanes to their horses, and that's not allowed with COVID at the moment. So that's why they weren't here last year. And at this stage, unlikely they'll come this year. But I think Moonee Valley will give a Cox Plate invite to the winner on Sunday. Does the Japanese racing catch your eye?
It catches my eye when they arrive. When they come here, when they hit terra firma in Oz, then my eyes open up quite widely. But in terms of their racing, unless there is a Lee Grasher or a horse that we've had race here that runs over there, then normally there's enough with the 44 to 50 meetings a week in Australia to keep me more than occupied.
All right. Before we take a deep dive into Eagle Farm, is there anything else over the last month that stood out for you?
The ongoing debate about should we have race days on particular days, and the Good Friday launch comes in again.
Yep.
Of should we or shouldn't we? What's your thought process regarding that?
I don't mind the idea that this is an idea that they've brought up for country racing. So looking at those regional towns where they might get some Easter tourism, give families the opportunity to get out to a country race on a Good Friday. I think Good Friday is one of the boring days, and there's very little to do. So I'm all for giving punters the opportunity to have a bet or have something to go to on a pretty boring day otherwise.
I'm of exactly the same opinion. We're not a business, we're a professional sport, and we're a wagering sport that depends highly on the punter and on the public fan base, whether that be, when I talk about the punter, I also include the owner and to somewhat the trainer, is that if everybody's at home and everybody's available to attend, I think we should be racing on every day barring Christmas Day. And the drums start to beat of where's our day off and all that sort of jazz. Whether you like it or not, racing's a 365-day-a-year sport. That's inclusive of Christmas Day. Horses have to be worked, fed, boxes have to be cleaned. I've worked at stables for a lot of years previous to what I'm doing now, and there was no such thing as a day off. There was no such thing as a Saturday. There was no such thing as a Sunday. There might be a little bit easier in terms of workload, but there definitely wasn't a day off as such. So I don't think the day off works with me, and going down that claim of losing that. Majority of the stables don't race most days of the week anyway. And the bigger operations have the staff and basically all the facilities to accommodate that 24/7 operation. So for me, it's a no-brainer. And I would be interested to see, because there is such the uproar of we need a day off. I'd love to see the racing club react to that and have an exciting meeting in the bush and put some restrictions on it. So race it at a good country racetrack a Bendigo or a Ballarat or one of the majors that's within striking distance of the majority of the holiday destinations. So where people do have their holidays mid-year, they might be 45 minutes to an hour away, which opens up the opportunity for them still to travel to the meeting. Let's make it for good prize money. Let's make it for apprentices only. And let's see them cut the trainers' ranks down and say, okay, you all want the day off, have the day off. We'll make it open for trainers under a certain age bracket. We'll run races for trainers who haven't had a metropolitan winner as such. Like, you could have a race there that's basically a no metro trainers race. It's not to attract the lesser like when it comes to horse quality, but let's try and find some horses out there and some trainers that, that's the one day a year that they really strive for. And, you could put some really good prize money races up for grabs. And there'd also be an opportunity there to get some of the younger punters involved, whether it be like a low level style auction or something where, some of these lesser stables could get somebody to buy in for owner for a day or something similar where you pay a small fee to go in a draw, or you can go into an auction to win, a chance to be a 10% owner or something for the day. And the owners group might get their bills covered for the month just by having that option open.
Yep, some good ideas there. I sort of disagree about the 365 days a year. I think Good Friday is a day that racing can really capitalise on. But for me, a race like a Monday race day has no interest. I know Racing Victoria have scrapped Monday racing in December, January and March to give participants some more time off. They're giving them a week off at the end of the season as well. So I think there's about 17 days a year now where they don't race. It'll be 16 days once they race on Good Friday. But I think these big days, schedule racing there. And for me, I don't care about Monday racing. If they wanted to give participants every Monday off for the whole season, that wouldn't bother me at all. That for me would be a better work-life balance and make it a little bit easier on the stables. But I think Good Friday racing is a tick from a punter's point of view. You talked about prize money, and there was an announcement this week as well. Another 16 million's been poured into prize money. A lot of the prize money actually going to the autumn sprints in Melbourne. The William Reid, I think was the Oakley Plate on there as well, the Lightning. There are a number of sprints there. I think boosting prize money, we're going to see hopefully some of the better sprinters target that as a bit more of a series. Did anything there catch your eye? And I think part of your point, it'd be nice to see more money actually go towards the maidens that help those country trainers to and get owners reinvesting back in horses after that their horses first win.
Prize money is an interesting one. It's whether people like it or not, the big horses and the big races attract the big sponsorship. It attracts the big money, which puts it all back through the sport and eventually finds its way down into the lesser ranks. And ultimately these bigger races and bigger sponsorships, etc., open up the opportunities for our maidens to even be worth that 35 to 40,000 the majority of the time. And even our lesser ranked maidens still run for good prize money when you compare it to out wide racing in other jurisdictions. And when you compare it to other jurisdictions, the training fees aren't a hell of a lot different than what you would pay for the average trainer in Melbourne. So prize money is a difficult one. You just get the feeling where it doesn't really matter what they do or where it goes, it's never going to be good enough. And they're trying to lure the big sprinter back from Sydney and trying to give them the reasoning to come down. I think until the two bodies get together and put the big temptation carrot out there, where, if it becomes, we really need that Triple Crown style series where Melbourne and Sydney both participate together, and with the big carrot at the end, where if you won the Triple Crown, there's a $5, $6, $7 or $8 million egg at the end. that's the only way to get these horses to all the good races, and that would deter, take a little bit of the polish off a race like the Everest. But I think for everybody, we just want to see the good sprinters run all year. Might also, something like that may also keep some of the 3-year-olds that go out for, go directly to the breeding barn. It might keep them in play just a little bit longer. So it's hard. I just get the feeling, especially the reactions on social media and such, it doesn't really matter what they do. It's never going to be good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the maidens is definitely something of interest, because the maiden can be very handy for an owner, especially if they're on selling a horse. And in particular, if they're buying a horse from another jurisdiction, such that if the maiden win's still open and the maiden had specific value to it, where, you know, you got a bonus or something for winning that maiden, or you got a bonus if your horse hadn't won a maiden for 10 starts, etc., that would still be open. So the residual purchase price of the horse may increase slightly once again.
Yep. All right. One more topic before we look at Eagle Farm. Next Gen has had another runner make it to the track. Claymore for Gemma Riley had 2 runs, 1 run over 1200 at Sale, ran 5th, then came to Flemington over 1400 and ran 5th as well. Gone out for a spell now, but what did you make of the 2 runs?
I really liked his Flemington performance. The slow early speed did help him. And he had a big squeeze through the midsection of the race, and he managed to finish off quite well. He was one of the faster last 200s of the race. I sort of, you know, that borderline for me didn't get me that excited. He was in the faster part of the track and did have some lane advantage out where he was, and he had the right race shape to do that. Big boy, he's got a big gangly giraffe style action.
Yeah.
He looks like he's 6 to 12 months away from growing into himself and being the fully furnished product. But anytime you take a horse to headquarters and you finish in with them, you leave and think, you know, there's something to hold our hats on, and, you know, there's a bright little future for him. It's impossible to see him not winning a race. And there's nothing to say that he can't be competitive in that, you know, off-season, midweek style of racing. And anytime you've got a horse who looks like he's going to get over further, you've always got the expectations that there's a chance of having a shot at the stumps in the spring in one of those derbies and all that sort of thing. There's 600 derbies going around. You know, he had the profile for me just off seeing him on that, where I'd love to see a horse like him avoid those bigger races and target a race like a Tasmanian Derby or something like that. I think that'd be brilliant for a runner like him, but it would be excellent to see young Gemma Riley produce a big city winner for us, and the GR Racing camp can shout a big party.
Absolutely. It's just a shame we weren't able to get there last week. And if he was still feeling well with him in himself to run over a mile next week at Flemington, I reckon there would have been a nice crew there. But it is what it is. And he was beaten 2.5 lengths in that race last year. Johnny Get Angry was beaten 5.5 lengths and now Group 1 winner. So as he said, you can dare to dream about a race like a Derby. All right, let's get stuck into Eagle Farm, mate. As I said, the last Group 1 meeting of the year. You've done the form, so I'll just host the show while you help us find the winners. The first race is an 1,830 metre listed race for 2-year-olds. It's a field of 5.
I've got absolutely no interest in this race. None. I'm not even going to watch it.
How would Clay Moore gone in this race?
He'd be competitive.
All right, let's have a look at race 2 then. 3-year-old fillies, 1,200 metres, field of 10. I might actually get up the market, but the horse at the top, or the top 2 horses, Redoute Image, Chris Lee's Australian Bloodstock horse, last start winner at Sunshine Coast, and Dragon Miss, Toowoomba, trained by John Thomas, last start winner at Toowoomba.
I like this Australian Bloodstock horse, this Redoute Image. He's only got a benchmark profile, and he also actually likes a bit of give in the ground, but he's dynamic. in the terms that he can handle both wet and dry, and his sprinting profile is pretty good. He's got a PB to his name of 1.7 lengths above IVR benchmark, and if he produced that, he would destroy this lot. He's got a historical way back Newcastle 900 metres of 1.3 lengths above. Thing with this boy is he's got dynamic straight line speed, which is excellent for Eagle Farm. He's not a good thing. He's no even money. You're talking pretty tight sort of stuff in terms of betting, but I do expect him to win. So he's a real make your own mind up whether you're going to bet on a horse like that. But with Craigie Williams on board, Chris Lee's stable flying, his latest performance was the best of the day at the Sunshine Coast. He will come here and be super competitive. It's a very even field behind him, though. So if there's one there that you've seen or you like, don't be afraid, especially on the each way.
Yeah, all right. That horse is $1.85 on the fixed. And as you said, Craig Williams in sensational form at the moment. Race 3, 1,200 metre race for the 3-year-old Colts and Geldings, another field of 10. And we've got a $2.10 favourite. Kingston's here. Benny Thompson rides.
There's a ton of horses here really struggling to break through the benchmark range. We've got a series of runners here in the -2 to benchmark at absolute top. You break benchmark here, you probably win the race. There's 2 horses who profile like they could go there, but when you're talking about horses who haven't gone there, very difficult for them to get there. So the 2 horses that of interest are the 2 that are hard in the market. I've got Mass Destruction slightly on top of Kingston here, but it's only going to be luck in running or one showing up and the other not. That might be the difference between those 2. And then you can go down the race pretty much bats 10 deep and there's not much between them. So a little bit of luck in running. It's a sort of race where you could see a 30-1 winner and not surprised. But Mass Destruction I liked his last. He had a big slowdown between the 4 and the 2 and he accelerated late. Gives me the indication that he might go back to his best, which is around that benchmark level.
There's actually a horse in this race called Acrobatic. Did you get a little bit excited?
Almost. I seen the name and thought, hang on, and then I seen the profile and said, I'll be right.
Yeah.
It's not you.
Yeah, for anyone wondering, there's another horse. So the horse in this race is Acrobatic. There's another horse called Acrobat. For Kieran Maher, had one start for one win at Randwick in the, I think it was the English nursery as a 2-year-old and produced some really, really nice figures. And then I think got injured, unfortunately, and we never saw Acrobat head towards races like the Slipper. But I know Hayden's had a good opinion of that horse from that debut performance. Race 4 is the Tattersalls Gold Crown, 2,137 metres. It's a listed race for the fillies and mares. Polly Gray, $2.40 favourite. Zaydani, 5. La Grisa, 5. Walking Flying, $7. Windermere, $9. And then it's 15 the rest. Polly Gray, Tommy Berry, Chris Waller. It's a good 4-track. We know Polly Gray loves this thing out of the ground, but is she the one to beat here?
To a point. I've got a little question mark. Waller's a master, so I wouldn't doubt his training thoughts and processes. It's a little question mark whether this horse got 1 run left in it or that was an end of campaign run, the latest. Back to, Waller's master of 2,000 back to 1,600 and getting the job done. It also sharpens them up and he can reset and go again. That's my only question mark with her is, has she got 1 left? I'm not 100% sure nor convinced. So she's a little risky. I'm adamant she's the best horse in the race, but I think there's a little bit of risk surrounding her. La Grisa is an interesting runner who comes out of 2 really, really slow races. Monster squeezes, big mid races, big finishes, whether that zapped the energy out of her. 21 days in between runs, her best is good enough to give these a big scare. Walking Flying is flying. he's a hard horse to fault. Little question mark with him at the 2100 to produce the figure that he's going to need. His 2,000 metre profile's a bit plain. It's hard not to be taken by his last start performance, and he does indicate, or she, sorry, does indicate that she could go back somewhere near there, which would be competitive. The other horse I was taken with was a horse called Windermere for Jimmy Byrne and Edward O'Rourke. Another one, last two starts, big squeezes through the mid. Doom and Run latest is going quite well. And trending towards that better IVR figure. So that was the other horse in the race that I was interested in. So I'm Greaser and Windermere. Can't really split them, but not overly interested in either. And Adamant Polly Gray's the best horse in the race. And you're going to find out with about 200 metres to go whether she's had enough for the campaign or not.
Yeah, and Windermere, you're getting $9, and she had a little jump out last week, about 10 days ago, and there was only 3 horses in that jump out, but she won that jump out. So little freshen up there from last start. Next race is the Battle of the Bush, 1,200 metre race. I assume it's for country trainers. It's a massive field, probably the sort of race you're talking about for Good Friday, Hayden, but it's $4 Tango Rain, $5 R1 Nietzsche. Bolente is $5.50. Rather Salubrious is $7. Fully Maxed $9. Raiden $9.50. As I said, massive field. I don't think any of these horses have had a Metro win in the last 12 months. Is it a race you want to play in?
Yeah, number 14 is the Omen Bet, hit snooze, because if you're going to have a snooze during the day, this is the right time to do it. Absolutely no interest in this.
All right.
None.
All right. Let's move on. 2,400 metre Tattersalls Cup is race 6. It's the start of the quaddie. Incentivizer we've spoken about. 5 straight wins on the trot. Aussie Kier and Bray Sikolsky are hoping they've got themselves a cup horse here. Comes up against 2 exposed stayers in Mirage Dancer and Southern France.
Only knock whatsoever is got to go back to the well for the 3rd time in a row. In terms of IVR figures, got to go back there for the 4th time in a row in terms of big exertions through the mid and big late finishes. So $1.40, zero interest me. These are races where the common everyday punter can't get involved. They put it in the multi and they sit there and the bookies just get one little look at everyone's bets for the rest of the day and they get a free look at knocking everyone out. So for me, no. But he's definitely got the best recent last IVR numbers. And his big one was at this track. So, no, for mine. The horse I keep waiting for is Mirage Dancer. J-Mac on, blinkers off. Every time I see earmuffs, whether they're pre-race only or whatever, they're just rubbish earmuffs. It's just playing games with things. I'm still waiting for a repeat of the Randwick Metrop performance. And I'm putting that down as a complete spike run and saying that yours is the benchmark plus 1 horse now. If he can go there, he'll run a place. And I've got no interest in anything else. So it's a real watch and learn. And I'll be interested to see what they do with Incentivize, whether they really rip the Band-Aid off and see what's under there, and whether he can peak for the 4th time in a row, technically the 5th. So big effort. If there's a trainer-jockey combination that's going to spoil the party, it's Craig and Kieran with Southern France. No interest, enjoy the event.
All right, next race is the Edward Street Benchmark 80 Handicap. Shooting for Gold, $2.40. Devil's Temptation, $4.60. And then it's $8.50 the rest. This is another big field. And as I said, these are 80 and below rated horses.
Yeah, it's hard. You can find little specks of data with a lot of these horses that would give them big claims to not only run first three, but could potentially win. But you're clutching at straws with a lot of it. And the problem with a lot of these horses is when they produce the number to win, they commonly fail wherever they go next. No horses have put back-to-back big runs together. So if you're going off the big run, there's a high probability of failure, which makes things a little bit nerve-wracking. The favourite's just, for mine, there's nothing overly exciting about him. He's just a benchmark style -1 horse. He's got a big finish if they go slow. He'd be dangerous if he got to the outside. Kid on him's a star, so don't be scared to back him. The horses who were big odds who you could throw into your quaddies were Genzai the Wolf. I think he's about $10. Wudang Blade, Desert Man, and Detmus. But it's got that field leg feeling to it. You know, I'm leaving out, even horses like Konunga with Craig on, and you look outside of it. And you can make excuses up for horses, and then you go down and have a look in the riders' profiles, and they've got a Group 1 rider on. So,
yeah,
you know, do you give them the full bullets and say, okay, if you run to your best, this is where you are? But they were the horses that I profiled that I thought could run well, but I'm not overly interested in that race either.
Yeah, and I know Matt Smith had a good opinion of Konunga as a horse, and 3 runs last prep. Well, technically still this prep, but it's been 71 days since the horse last ran. 3 runs this prep haven't been much good, but before that was second at Flemington, second at Dooman, second at Randwick, I think. So perhaps a bounce back there. And as you said, bit of value, so you might want to go wider in your quaddie. Let's look at the big race of the day. It's the Tatt's Tiara. It's the final Group 1 race of the spring. Tafane was brilliant last start in the Stradbroke. She's $4.80 favourite. 1,000 Guineas winner Odium is $5.50 second favourite. Savatiano was disappointing last start. As favourite in the Stradbroke, ran 9th of 15, but before that, her form was insatiable. She's $9. We've got a couple of questions about Subpoenaed, who was a good run in the Stradbroke. Keith D'Souza, from the gate, can Subpoenaed sit handier, especially in a race without much speed on paper? And more importantly, do you think she can win, Hayden? And Daniel Norris, can Subpoenaed win the Group 1? I thought Baller was the bet of the day, now leaning towards Usmanov. Is that the right play? I think that might be the last race of the day he might be talking about there. And Baller scratch, so Usmanov's still in that field. But let's look at Subpoenaed. Couple of questions there. Hayden?
Well, it's an interesting race. It's a very difficult race. Speed early, you know, it's fair enough to say that there doesn't appear to be a lot of speed on paper, but when you line horses up in a line of 20, and you put horses like Dame Giselle and Flit into 19 and 20,
yep.
Pretty much what you've got to work out when you're trying to do mapping and speed profiling, etc., is say, okay, where's the logical 3 that can press forward and be part of that lead division? So the option's going to be there to roll the dice with Flit, and she's got the speed to get up and be part of that lead pack. Dame Giselle, you 100% know she's got the speed to be there, as does a horse like Rilabin Ruby, who's drawn hard on the inside. Now, the question mark surrounding the speed profile is you've got horses such as Savatiano, Odium, Mizzy, Generals, Charlize, who can all press forward and sit hard on the speed. So they're sitting hard on the speed, stalking. Horses like Savatiano, Mizzy, etc., have benchmark +1 profiles through that first section. So if Dame Giselle and Flit are going to work across the front of them, ultimately you're going to turn the race into a +2, +3, or +4 first section, which puts genuine speed into the race, especially for mares. Make sense? So where do you say, where's the golden spot? Golden spot in that's going to be in that benchmark, the -2 range, which put you 4 to 6 off the lead speed, sitting in that golden position. Well, who sits there? You got horses like Odium, Generals, possibly Charlize, possibly Nudge. They're the style of runners who can jump and sit in that spot, giving them ideal runs. Rail in the 6, they'll hit 12 off the fence, anywhere between 12 and say 16 off the fence in the straight. So they'll be in the lane. So they're going to be the runners who've got the advantages. You have horses like Tofana, you'd expect them to roll the dice once again and try and be a little bit more forward. And Craig will be aiming for that spot. So she gets an advantage in the race as well. I'm prepared to forgive a horse like Savatiano for its last start. Rail 6 will be a lot more advantageous for these on speed than it was previously Rail True. And that horse would be even more advantaged if they could get away from the rail and they could get anywhere between 4 and 6 off the fence in the straight. You know, that might take a little bit more catching this time in. That will put them in the lanes where that mid-division we're trying to strike, horses like Vega 1, etc., in the Stradbroke, rather than being hard up on the fence. And it'll take... make it all that little bit harder for those horses further back to strike, because there'll be a little bit more artificial speed from the front in the straight, so they won't get that smooth run down the outside. So Savatiano, for me, can be forgivable. The market seems really intelligent with Savatiano. Whether she comes to play, like if she's 9s into 5s, you'd expect her to go really close to winning. If she's 9s to 15s, you can pretty much forget about it. They haven't really been wrong. Camp's pretty smart. There must be a few there that know that she's right or she's wrong. Tofane, repeat of her last start, will put her on the podium, no doubt whatsoever, and likely win. So Tofane, you're looking at a repeat. Her previous, that was pretty brutal speed in her previous, and that was as fast as she's ever gone in her career through the first section. So, you know, a little question mark of can she back up 14 days off that? Traditionally, she's a get-back run-on style of horse. So that's a first section pressure that she hasn't been exposed to. So a little question mark with that. There's horses who have got big numbers to their names, but they've disappeared. Horses like Mizzy, etc. They're not there. And then the old mare in form's a mare in form. You pull out a horse like Nudge, who's just airborne. And her elite straight line speed makes her very dynamic at a place like Eagle Farm. So you go away from those, you got horses like Subpoenaed, the big question marks surrounding Subpoenaed. Subpoenaed's got that really flashy dash home, eye-catching style finish. Question mark with Subpoenaed is she's going to need a new PB to win. She's trending in that direction. You know, basically every start there's been a little bit of improvement all the way through. This looks like grand final day for her. She'll go to the level. She matches her PB 2.6 lengths above. A few haven't shown up for her to win. So she's going to have to go to a new level, which is never easy. When there's horses who can comfortably go to that level and win and still not break PBs. So the watch horses in the race. Savatiano, market might tell you the story. Tofane back up, it can win. Odium flying, looks like it'll peak. You know, there's a lot of intel there to say that Odium's probably the horse to beat. Nudges flying also. So I've marked the race around those. Savatiano, Tofane, Odium and Nudge, and a little bit of market intel on the day might help you sort that out a little bit further. Hope that makes sense.
Yep, I might hit you with a few questions. So Mizzy, obviously a horse that you said has sort of fallen off the cliff the last 2 starts, but it was only back 6th of March, and you're mentioning Savatiano as one of the main chances here. Well, 6th of March, Savatiano and Mizzy both ran plus 4.2s in the Canterbury Stakes. And Mizzy, first start for Annabelle Neesham.
The drop-off was pretty bad last start. And the drop-off was very similar prior. So the drop-off at Rose Hill to start prior and the drop-off at Morphettville in the Goodwood, by memory, is it Goodwood?
No, the Sangster.
Sangster, sorry.
Two big runs to start the autumn and just maybe taking it out of it.
Yeah, I think the two big performances got the better of her. And she pretty much achieved what she needed to do in that campaign. And they attempted the reset. Didn't work. She's gone from Sydney to Adelaide to Queensland. 100% got the talent to win, and wouldn't need a PB to do it. But, you have to say at absolute best, she'd go to a moderate style of profile, which would be in the +1.5 sort of range, which wouldn't be good enough. So I've marked her around there. Tommy Berry's the little name that keeps grabbing my attention, though. So, has Tommy gone there to ride her? Is Tommy just riding her because that's all that's available? Yeah,
Berry and Neesham, it would be quite a training effort if Annabelle could get her to win in her first start for the stable. The other horse I wanted to run by you was Brooklyn Hustle. We know she's I think she's a multiple Group 2 winner now, but just hasn't been able to get that Group 1 win to her name. Could this be her day? And what did you make of her run in the Dane Ripper where she beat Odium, who looks like Odium will peak on Saturday?
The finish was dynamic. I think she was home 11:22.
Yeah.
Plus 7.9 length combined last 400 metres, which included a plus 5.6 lengths above benchmark class 200. Low level flying, 10th best of the day, 2.2 lengths above IVR benchmark. It's very easy to be taken by the performance, super smart ride, and hit a part of the track that you rarely get to. And it's worth an incredible amount of ground out there. It's artificially fast. And then you see the big finish, which we know she's capable of anyway. But when you get to a part of the track that probably races in the fast 2 range, pushing an F1, and those, I know it only looks like a little bit of, it only looks like a few metres when you're watching it on the TV screen, but if you watch that wide shot, that head-on shot of Eagle Farm, you'll see that it's a massive straight. Those horses back to the inside are probably racing on a G3, G4. So you've got significant lane advantage where you were. She's not going to get that level of advantage with the rail in the 6. Okay, it's easier to get out there, but this is going to be a little bit of a little bit more difficult because you go to into your PB range. She's got a 3.5 to her name. It was over 1,100. A better 1,200 metre, 1,300 metre profile sits in the 2.5 range. She'll need a PB to do it, and she's going to have to chase down probably 3 horses who look like they'll go into that 3 zone. Not easy. Not easy. I wouldn't write her off. She only needs an error from the lead speed to grab them.
Yeah.
But she'll have horses surrounding her, be slightly in front of her, that will have similar kicks to what she does. It'll be mighty difficult. I wouldn't write her off, but it'll be difficult.
It's going to be a cracking race. I think if I was looking at this field and you told me, all right, we're going to line up this field once a month for 12 months, who would you like to own? For me, it's Savatiano. I think she's the most consistent mare at that elite level. So I tipped her in the Stradbroke. She was a little bit disappointing there, but if we forgive that, I'll be sticking with Savatiano at a nicer price too, because I think she was about $4 favourite in the Stradbroke. And here she's about $9 and $3.10 the place. But it's going to be a cracking race, mate. You've mentioned Savatiano, Tofane, Odium, and remind me who the 4th one was.
I've mentioned Savatiano, Tofane, Odium, and Nudge. They're the 4 horses that I zoned in on. But I do admit that the race probably bats 10 deep. And if those big guns don't run the 3s and the race ends up, if you only need that +2 to win it, the race probably bats 10 deep.
And how would Natoya go in this race?
No, she's had her 1 win. No.
All right, last race of the day, and obviously Daniel Norris thought Baller was the best bet of the day. Now he's leaning towards Usmanov. Is that the right play? Well, Baller's out of the race. So we've got Usmanov at $6. The 2 ahead in the market are Away Game at $5 and Generals at $5.50. Obviously, Generals is an emergency for the Tatt's Tiara. Exhilarate $7, Bella Nipotina $9.50, King of Hastings $13, Hightail and Zanaya around there as well. But Daniel, is Usmanov the right play here?
I can't fault it. Technically, if you go through its profile, even though it's had its runs really well spaced, it's been in work. It had its first up run technically for the campaign, which was only off a 112-day break at the Gold Coast, and that was the 19th of the 9th last year. So it's been in work a long time. I wouldn't knock it. But this is probably the biggest test for the campaign, or for some time. Nice horse, very honest, great camp, smart rider on. North, I call him. Bailey, we'll go with Bailey. I would love to see Bailey North come here and have a crack in the spring. I think he's talented enough to do so. Really taken by him as a rider. I think he's very smart. So, it wouldn't scare me betting into a race with him on. A couple of horses who look like they're going to elevate. They're a little bit fresher and they're a little bit sharper. So I think Usmanov's going to have to hold these off. Exhilarates looks ready. Bowman gets the best out of it. Hightail's another one. He's an interesting runner. His performance last start was good. In a good race at Mornington, he's had a 100-day break, which will aid him with the travel. Tommy goes on. Dangerous as always, Tom. Right horse, right race, right rider, right camp, big odds like him. Generals goes right into contention here, and probably the horse to beat if it ends up here and not in the G1. Zanaya Flying, hard to knock. High-low went through the Magic Million sales with the Godolphin crop, which always has these horses a little bit unfavoured when they go to other stables and they start 2 to 3 times their right price. It's a watch horse, and keep your eye on what it does in this race, because when all the big names bugger off, it'll be a dangerous horse in Brisbane wherever it goes next. So not hopeless here. Keep your eye on it. King of Hastings has a profile like he was going to go through the roof. I'm still waiting for it. He's definitely good enough to scare the life out of these and could possibly win. So Exhilarates, Hightail, Generals with horses that I was focused on, but do have big respect for Usmanov if he's got one left in the tank.
All right. And you haven't mentioned Away Game, who's the $5 favourite. You mentioned High-Low. High-Low's $19, ran 4th last start, beaten 1.4 lengths to Superior, and Away Game, the $5 favourite, was beaten 1.2 lengths. So it was only 2.2 of a length between them. Away Game $5 and High-Low 19. So there's your value. But Away Game?
Yeah. Away Game's sort of awesome. Adamant it's going to run first 4. But it's got that speed profile on that late. Away Game doesn't have much straight line speed. Very neutral. straight line speed horse, which makes it very difficult to hang on and win at Eagle Farm. So that was my knock on it. I thought it'd be the bunny and the one to catch. Expect it to hit the front at some point down the straight. But to me, it's beatable. So that's the style of horse I'm prepared to risk, and I'm prepared to bet around. But, if you want to bet on a horse like that, it's as honest as the day is long and brings a benchmark profile, and benchmark win it. So suit yourself.
All right. Any best bets or anything you want to lead punters with there?
Very even card. I'd be spacing your bets well, and it's not the sort of day where you want to go in and pull both guns out of the holster. If you pull one out and you bet 1 by 3, 1 by 4, it's the sort of day where if you want to have a bet in every race and it's only the win, you could find yourself with a handful of placings or fast finishing 4ths or 5ths and come out of the day with no money. So just be very cautious in what you're doing, because it is a day where you're going to get burnt, as is Caulfield, which you're going to have to, pay close attention to that racetrack at Caulfield. They're dangerous days, these. You want to be... there's a lot of horses who come in with a lot of hype. They start very short and they don't have the necessary talent to warrant the short prices. And it just looks like a disaster day for people taking multis. I think you'd make more money if you laid every favourite that started shorter than $2 than you would be if you backed them all. So could be wrong, but interested. I'll be very interested on Looker. I'll be one gun out of the holster. I will be participating, but it won't be that aggressive.
All right, mate. Well, good luck tomorrow. Caulfield can host up to 5,000 people on track, was announced on Friday morning, which is great news. Hopefully the weather stays away and it's a good day to get on track if that so pleases you, and looking forward over the next month to perhaps doing a couple of different shows on some of the best performers of the season, maybe an episode on the best 3-year-old of the year. Maybe we can do one on the best sprinter of the year and maybe the best horse of the year, but we'll discuss that over the week, mate. Good luck, good punting.
We might have to have an awards night.
We could do that. And good luck to Gemma, who's got Diamonds running at the Heath on Saturday as well.
Sneaky little chance, Diamonds.
Sneaky little chance, good odds.
Sneaky chance when I was doing the form on that one. Right horse, right race. So definitely wouldn't surprise me to see it running in the money. The other thing we need to do as well is for those that have lasted this long into our little preview, we need some thoughts on people, on guests they would like to see, to set you with a little bit of a challenge to go out and lure those people in. So think outside the square, where you don't want the normal everyday bozo that we see on TV. We don't want, we don't need any of that.
I wouldn't mind getting the next gen punter on. A few punters, if we do a show next week on, say, the best 3-year-olds, we might invite a few on to give us their best 3-year-old for the season and their reasons why, and then give us something to debate about. But yeah, good idea. All right, mate. Catch you next week.
All right.
See you, buddy.